We are joined by the drivers from RFK Racing, Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher, who have a few wins here at Iowa in the Xfinity Series between the two of them. We'll go straight to questions. I know Zach already raised his hand. We'll open it up with Zach.
Zach Sterniolo, NASCAR.com. Brad, Martin was just in here and just announced that this is going to be his final year racing full-time at the Cup level. As someone who's competed against him for a very long time, and Chris, I would like your perspective on that as well, but as someone who's competed against him for as long as you have, Brad, what can you say about what you've seen from Truex, his growth as a Cup Series driver into a champion, and what racing against him has been like over the past decade and a half?
Yeah, Martin certainly has earned a lot of respect and credibility out of the industry, and he's done that with things he's done on the track and off the track. Sad to see him go, and just kind of reminded that life is about change, right? Not always fun change, but it's tough seeing any champion leave the sport. But kind of wishing him the best in his next endeavors, and kind of to speak of his career, as you were asking, Martin was just kind of a telltale story, I think, of this sport, of somebody that came in with a really great pedigree, winning two Xfinity championships, and got to the Cup side and paid a lot of dues. Was probably hung up in situations that weren't ideal, but he stuck it out and got himself into a great situation and made the most of it, and deserves a lot of credit for that kind of consistency and patience. Super talented guy. I look at him even last week at Sonoma. Really good race car driver that knows how to put his car in the right positions. A little bit of a throwback in the sense that Martin's one of those guys that I thought was really good at taking care of his equipment and being there when it mattered. And so it's kind of the end of it. With each one of these drivers that goes away, it's kind of the end of its own little era. Martin was probably one of the last of the drivers that would, had chill to him. And now it seems like everybody new that comes in obviously Chris is probably the closest comp to Martin there is, but most of the drivers don't have a lot of chill. Martin's a very chill guy. So got a lot of respect for him, and I don't know what his next chapter is. Maybe he doesn't know either, but that's okay. But he'll be missed in our sport.
Additional questions? I'll go to Nate and then Philip. Oh, sorry.
Brad covered it quite well, and I know he's raced with Martin a lot more through the years, but yeah, that's I guess big news that I guess we probably felt like was coming at some point within the next year, but good for him. And like Brad said, he's been a lot of fun to race with, a very respectable racer that been able to have good, clean battles through with the years consistently. And it's always been a lot of fun for me, and I still want to be a little upset with him for being able to run me down last week. But congrats to him. That is really cool, and wishing him the best going forward. And yeah, like Brad said, you're losing another veteran that that's predictable, that you can race on track and have good, hard, clean racing for the vast majority of the time, and know that you can get out and appreciate that from each other. So time will tell what changes from there, but congrats to him.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. I have one for each. Brad, I'll start with you. Justin Allgaier was in here earlier and saying that this is like a Midwestern short track, like the type of place anywhere in this region where you can just throw a rock and you can hit a place like this, like rising out of the cornfields. And obviously you're a Midwesterner, but the Midwestern track for NASCAR in the Cup Series has been the big track in Michigan. This is like the first time in a long time that there's been like a Midwestern short track. From the perspective of like a Midwesterner, like what does it mean for the Cup Series to have a place like this and to this fan base in this region?
Yeah, I think it's a huge event for our sport. It's obviously an inaugural Cup race here. On a track that, similar conversation, has paid a lot of dues. It's been around now for 17 years, 18 years. And so, kind of finally having its day here. It's exciting to see that for me. On a number of levels, geographically, I think it's an important market for us. As we kind of transcend the discourse of political conversations that are going on with coastal cities and everything else that's going on, you start to lose sight too of that in NASCAR. That NASCAR is not just a coastal sport or a regional sport; it's a national sport. And it's important for us, in my mind, to really live that out. And I think we're doing that by racing here in Iowa. It's pretty much exact middle of the country. If I was throwing a dart at a dartboard, it's probably as close as you could get to the center to be Iowa, right? And I think that's important. There's a lot of great race fans here that I think for a long time have been somewhat underrepresented with the tracks that they're around or that they get to go to. And we started to work our way out there a little bit with Kansas and some of those tracks, which is great. I think that was a good win for us. And it's nice to see us continue to do that with a race here in Iowa. I think everything I understand about the attendance and the support of the community, it's going to be outstanding for all 3 nights, which is great, and shows kind of a pent-up demand. I think it's important to go where you're wanted, and it's very clear that here in Iowa, NASCAR is wanted. So, beyond that, I'm glad it's not another road course. It seems like every time we add a new venue to the sport, a road course. It's nice to add a new venue to the sport that's an actual, stock car-esque track, and that's clearly what Iowa is. So, I'm really pumped for this community. And I've kind of advocated for it for a while now, and pretty sure they didn't do it because of me, but I'm still glad to see it happen. I'm glad to see a community that pays its dues get a race. Michigan's still a pretty long ways away from Iowa, but there's still a lot of relatability I have to this area and to the fan base here.
Cool. And for you, Chris, maybe you can give your same perspective on that, but you've raced here a lot going back to the Xfinity days, and obviously the topic of discussion this weekend is it's going to be different probably than the wall to the white line racing we've seen in the past, and just what you're expecting there.
Yeah, it's been coming here for many years now as well, and I certainly am excited to get to fly to this racetrack this time instead of the driving we used to do. But I do very clearly remember coming out to Iowa, whether that was ARCA racing or Xfinity racing, and seeing an amazing amount of support from our fan base from this region. As simple as taking the track walk a few hours ago. We've been here 3 hours at this point, and we've got fans yelling over the fence at everybody walking by, saying, "Thanks for coming. We're glad you're here. We've been waiting for this." That's it's Friday and very early in the weekend, and we've already got people yelling out and showing support. So that's really cool for this entire place. I've loved this racetrack since the first time I've come out here. Yes, the racing is going to be different than what we've had in the past, and on that side of it, certainly what was excited about the old surface. I just naturally I love the old worn out racetracks, and we've gone through our fair share of repaves already this season with North Wilkesboro and Sonoma, and also understanding that maintenance is necessary. There's no way around that, right? Ultimately we can't have racetracks falling apart on us during our event. So certainly not about to dig into it, but it is going to be different than what we've seen in the past. We won't be up against the fence. The new asphalt's very smooth, and the outside asphalt right up against the fence is not. It reminds me of some of those teeth-chattering moments up there wrapping the fence in the past. So it is going to be a very different style of race. We have a lot to learn. I know Brad was here for the test not too long ago, and we'll certainly, as soon as we walk out of here, we'll be glued to the monitors watching Xfinity wrap up their practice as well.
We'll go to Philip and then Jeff.
Chris, Philip Jones from the Des Moines Register. I have a couple of quick related things. First of all, you've had success here before. Can you talk, and you just said that you love the track. Can you talk a little about why you love the track right now?
I mean, it's kind of to Brad's point, it's a short track-ish. It is a very fast place, but it's put on some great racing. We haven't had Cup races to watch here, right? With this being the first time we're coming out. So all the studying leading up to this one has been old Xfinity races. Watching these events and just watching them and enjoying them thoroughly as a fan. To watch the racing and what it's done for the show, the different lines in the racetrack, the options you had as a driver from inside the car without having to wait until a pit stop to make adjustments. That's awesome. That's what we live for, and it was on top of trying to take in everything we can to be ready for this weekend and refresh. It's just fun to watch those races and realize what a fantastic facility we've got here and what kind of potential we have for our race this weekend.
And then following up, this track shares some characteristics with both Kansas and Darlington, where you had hard luck. Given your position in 15th in points, are you optimistic that you could have a good weekend or secure a win here?
Yeah, that's on that point, I'm optimistic about every week right now. I'm excited every single track we go to. I will even stretch it as far to say that I am almost excited to go to Loudon next week. So Richmond and Phoenix through the past years have been tracks have been tough. RFK through my years here, I've been a part of some tough times where we circled racetracks and said these are our chances, right? We got to really focus on these, and we're not doing that. We're going to the racetrack each and every week, feeling like we have chances to win races, and that's this one just the same as every other week. So on that side of things, whether it's got those similarities or differences, I'm excited purely from the fact that RFK has been building fast race cars, that we're showing up to the racetrack with a chance to win, whether that is Sonoma and a new paved road course, whether that's Bend, Kansas, or whether it's a big unknown at Iowa here this week.
Go to Jeff and then Dustin.
Brad, it wasn't long ago at all. It seems like that you were the young, brash upstart coming in the series. Suddenly, with Martin leaving, I believe you're going to be the second oldest driver next year. You and then Denny.
I just want to point out he said it, not me. Don't ever hold that against me.
It's kind of weird, but how does that sit with you?
I don't know. I just think about Mark Martin driving when he was 50, and one, I think that's really impressive, and two, there's the part of me that's like, well, if he can do it, I can do it, and think, all right, well, that's still like another 10 years from now. So, for the record, Logano's been here longer than I have. He was just a little younger, so I keep reminding him that. He's got more consecutive starts than I have too. So it'll be interesting. I guess when you get behind the car, you get behind that wheel and you're driving the car. All that stuff kind of goes out the window, right? And it's what you can do on that given day. And I don't think too much about that stuff, but yeah, every once in a while you have some of those moments. I had that moment this week when we were filming the last Race Hub show. And I was just thinking about, wow, I remember when I was a rookie in Cup when this show started, and they were, and you hate to see things like that go away, but it's just a different era. It's like times change, and, that's part of the reason why being on the ownership side was so important for me and getting that exposure to it at this point in time in my life is, inevitably everything ends, so I feel like I'm a long ways away from that on the driver's side, although there are bad days where you do kind of kick yourself and you have those thoughts pushing your head. But fortunately, as of late, there's been enough good days, I think, Jeff, to where you go, oh, no, I'm going to do this for a long time. I left the Coke 600 saying, oh, I got 10 years left in me. And then I left North Wilkesboro saying, oh, my God, how am I going to keep doing this? So you got the ups and the downs, and you just try to level them out a little bit in your head. And I hope this weekend I'm going to leave saying I got 10 years left in me. And I feel like we'll have the cars and the team to be able to compete at a high level and maybe even win the race. And that part, when you have the competitive element at the really high level, it's Mark Martin said it on Dale Jr.'s broadcast or what do we call it, podcast. They don't make a drug like that, right? They don't make a drug that good as being able to win races. And I think I hope we'll run really well and I'll have another 10 years left in me. That's what I feel, at least.
We'll go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Brad, what is at stake for this race? Obviously with being inaugural, but because of the repave, there certainly seems to be a lot of anxiety about what the fans are going to see, and there's going to be this large turnout. What is at stake for Sunday night?
You know, there's been a lot made about the repave, and maybe that's right, maybe it's not. I sure would be better to answer that Sunday after the race than it is on Friday. A lot to be proven out. You know, I look at the tracks I think have been successful in their debuts and the ones that haven't been successful in their debuts. And in general, I feel like what separates the good tracks from the bad tracks is how well they take care of the fans, more so than whether there's a 3-wide finish for the win. And that's going to come down to the 3 T's, the Humpy Wheeler 3 T's, right? Was it tickets, traffic, and toilets? Isn't that the Humpy Wheeler 3 T's?
I never heard that one. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I think they got the tickets part figured out.
Sounds like
I don't know about the traffic and the toilet, but I hope they got that figured out. But, you know, I've read and heard some of the discourse here about the track, and I know they put a lot of work into the tire dragons and all those other things to try to get 2 lanes to come in. No, it's not going to be 3 or 4 lanes like maybe some of us hope, but still probably going to be 2 good lanes of racing. So, you know, I think it will be a great race either way.
We're going to go to Lee in the back, and then we'll wrap with Kelly.
Lee Spencer, SiriusXMNASCAR.com, and SiriusXMNASCAR Radio and Catchfence.com. Brad, you have 2 wins in New Hampshire, but since the new car, your average finish is 5th there. What's the difference, or is there a huge difference in how that track races with the new car versus the old car, considering you've had success at both?
Yeah, Lee, it's interesting. I don't know if it was a car that made a big difference, but last year, you know, the groove moved all the way up against the wall, I think, in both ends, and that was a huge change. I think it's more a factor of the PJ1 or whatever they sprayed and the modified races and how the track has aged than it is the next-gen car. Of course, the shifting there makes a big difference, kind of changed the dynamics of the track. And so it'll continue to change, you know, a pretty safe bet. But I don't think the next-gen car itself was a big change for that track.
Thank you.
No problem.
We're going to wrap up with Kelly here.
Give Chris a good question, won't you? I feel bad.
I do have one for both.
I just don't like Loudon, so I was glad that wasn't.
Yeah,
for
you
me.
got out of that one.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Brad, first for you, have you noticed any different or any weight off the shoulders of the team since you guys have the win now and got that, kind of knocked that off the list a couple weeks ago?
I mean, to some degree, I feel a little bit of a personal weight off my shoulders, but, you know, until we get both cars locked in the playoffs, we still have, you know, a big mountain to climb. So, you know, obviously we've been very close to that with Chris and the 17 car, with a number of second-place finishes, a really good run last week at Sonoma. Eager to punch that through and have both of our cars locked in the playoffs. I think my goal that we said was to have it done by the middle of June, to have both cars unlocked in the playoffs, so there's still time. What is today, like the 10th? Is it something like that? But 14th? Oh, wow, okay.
Less time.
Less time than I thought. But, you know, we're really happy with how competitive the cars are, you know, how well the teams are clicking, and, you know, there's some happenstance involved in winning races and some performance. I think we have solid cars right now. Were we as fast as, you know, the 5 car last week? No, we weren't. We weren't anywhere close to that with either of our 2 cars. But I expect we'll be very competitive over the next 3 weeks and have shots to compete for wins.
So, Chris, on the flip side of that, within the 17 team, is it tense? Is the frustration building of how well you guys have run, but you haven't been in victory lane yet?
Yeah, certainly there's a lot of weight, and I guess it's not really unfortunate. It's just part of our sport. You know, you reset those bags on your shoulders as soon as the year concludes in Phoenix, and you start all over again. So, you know, we've been competitive, to Brad's point there. That was one of the biggest goals that I had going through the off season, was how do we make sure the first 8 races are way more competitive than where we were last season. We gave up a lot at that time, and we certainly have been. We've had big chances and been really close that have ended in some catastrophic ways as well. So maybe from a point side thing, we're probably about the same place as we were last year, but the opportunity is way higher, and the ceiling is much higher. So, yeah, we certainly have. We got to make it happen. We got to capitalize. We got to conclude one of these things at the end of the day, and be able to lock ourselves into the playoffs, because that's ultimately the bigger goal at the beginning of the season was how do we make sure that we're locked in with a chance to win a championship, not just participate. So we're in a good spot. We're just not we're not in a great spot yet, and we've got to go through these next handful of races and make all the pieces fit together and click right. And certainly there's been some frustration on a lot of parts of it, but doing our best not to let that continuously build up and get worse. You're going to have days at the racetrack that aren't going to go your way, and part of competition. But we got to control what we can to make them go our way. And last week was a good reset for our team on that side of things after some rough goes for us ultimately.